Hello, my name is Angelina, and right now I'm going to do my presentation about English syntax. So in these presentations, let's dive into the fascinating world of English syntax and how the structures and the meaning combine together. And at the end of these presentations, I hope that we can understand what is in the English syntax about. Alright, let us start our discussions today about English linguistics. So today we're going to discuss about two main topics. First, we are going to discuss about English syntax. Second, we are going to discuss about English word structure and meaning. Now, let us start our discussions. So before I start, let me explain to you what is English syntax. English syntax is the way words are put together to make sentences. It tells us the order of the words so we can understand each other. For example, English sentences often go in the order of subject, verb, object, like she reads a book. Syntax also includes rules about how words agree with each other, the right order for the words, and how to make sentences clear and correct. Let us move on to the other topic. Let's start with how we describe words in English. These are two main approaches, formal and notional definitions. Formal descriptions focus on specific characteristics of word. For example, we classify truck as a noun because it can take a plural form, which is trucks with the s ending. This is a structural, rule-based approach. On the other hand, notional definitions are based on meaning. We might say a noun is any word that represents a person, place, or thing. While notional definitions can be helpful, linguistics often prefers formal descriptions because they give us consistent criteria for identifying word types. English has several word classes or categories. Nouns, verbs, adjective, or adverb is the component of the word classes. These classes also form phrases, which are groups of words with a main head word that defines the phrase type. For example, in the noun phrase, the tall building, building is the head noun, and everything else modifies it. Similarly, in the verb phrase, Mike have metered, the main verb metered is the head, and auxiliary verbs support it. Other common phrase types include adjective phrases and prepositional phrases. Each phrase type is centered around a word class, giving English its rich structure. Now let's look at verbs. The main verbs, our lexicon verbs, gives us the actions, state, or occurrence in a sentence. Verb phrases can also include auxiliary verbs, which add extra information about tense, aspect, or mood. There are modal auxiliary like can or must, which express possibility or necessity, and primary auxiliary like have or be, which form progressive and prospective aspect. For instance, in I'm walking, the auxiliary am plus walking shows an ongoing actions. This progressive aspect adds nuance by showing that the actions is happening now. Next, let us discuss about classes, sentences, and class functions. Let us talk about clauses and sentences. Before I start to explain to you the functions and etc. about this topic, let me give you a brief introduction to a clause and a sentence. A clause has a subject and a verb, forming a complete idea. Clauses can stand alone as sentences or combine with other clauses for more complex sentences. A clause is a group of words with a subject and a verb. It can be a complete thought, which is considered as independent clause, or incomplete thought, which is considered as dependent clause. For example, in independent clause, we can write, she runs every morning. This is considered as independent clauses because it can stand alone as a sentence. On the other hand, dependent clause, which is based on the example I gave you, because she wants to stay healthy, it's considered as dependent clause because this cannot stand alone and needs an independent clause to complete the thought. When we combine the example together, it became she runs every morning because she wants to stay healthy. This is considered as complex sentence or complex sentences that having two types of clause in it, independent clause and dependent clause. Here, she runs every morning is the independent clause, and because she wants to stay healthy is the dependent clause. Together, they form a complete sentence. Main clause can exist independently, while subordinary clause rely on main clauses. For example, in she smiled because he arrived, she smiled is a main clause, and because he arrived, it's subordinary. Each clause has function. First, subject. Subject is what the sentence is about. Predicator is the main actions, usually the verbs. Object is who or what receives the actions. Complement and adverbial add extra information to complete the meaning. Next, let us see the definitions of sentence. A sentence is a group of words that expresses a complete thought. It has a subject, which is what or who is the sentence is about, and predicate, what is being said about the subject. Sentences start with a capital letter and end with the period, question mark, or exclamation mark. For example, the dog barked loudly. In this sentence, the dog is the subject and bark loudly is the predicate. Together, they make a complete thought. These functions work together to make English sentences clear and meaningful. Next, let us see the main and subordinating conjunctions. Main conjunction connect words, phrase, or independent clauses of equal importance. The most common coordinating conjunctions can be remembered with the acronym FUNBOYS. F for for, A for and N for nor, B for but, O for or, Y for yet, S for so. I'll give you some of the example of each of FUNBOYS. For example, I give you these sentences. She was late for she missed the bus. So for here is written after the comma to connect each of the sentence correctly. Next, let us discuss about the example. So to connect the clauses, English use conjunctions. Main clauses use coordinating conjunctions like and, or, and but to link ideas of equal importance. Subordinate clauses, however, need subordinating conjunctions like because, although, or if to connect the main clause. These conjunctions make the relationship between clauses clear, showing cause, contrast, or conditions. Subordinating conjunctions connect a dependent or subordinating clause to a dependent clause, showing a relationship like time, cause, conditions, or contracts. Example includes, for example, I give you 5 kind of subordinating conjunctions. First, we have because. Second, we have although. Third, we have when. Fourth, we have if. Fifth, we have since. In this example, the subordinating conjunctions introduce a dependent clause that relies on the main clause for its complete meaning. Next, let us discuss about English word structure and meaning. English words have an internal structure. For example, a word may consist of a root like walk and ending like in walking. In lexical semantics, we also analyze word relationship. First, synonyms are words with similar meaning, like happy and joyful. Second, antonyms have opposite meanings, like hot and cold. Third, hyponyms and hypernyms describe word hierarchies, like rose being a type of flower. Words can also combine into familiar phrases called idioms, such as set about, meaning to start a task. Next, let us discuss about derivational affixes. English words can be modified with derivational affixes, which are prefix or suffix that change a word meaning or classes. For example, adding "un" to happy to form unhappy words and changing its meaning. Or adding "ness" to happy, make it happiness, changing it from adjective to a noun. This flexibility lets English speakers create new words by combining roots and affixes. Next, let us discuss about varying definitions of meaning. So meaning in English vary based on context and usage. Grammatical meaning is based on syntax, showing the role of each word. Pragmatic meanings, however, depends on the context and social cues. For example, "we're going to be late" may be grammatically describe a delay, but pragmatically it might signal urgency or imply "let's hurry." We also distinguish between denotations and connotations. Denotations is words' literal meaning, while connotations includes emotional or cultural associations. Next, let us discuss about the morpheme. A morpheme is the smallest meaning bearing unit in language. Words like dogs have 2 morphemes, which is dog and the plural form, which is with plus "as" after the dog. Free morphemes can stand alone, while bound morphemes need attachment, like ing in walking. Understanding morpheme help us to see how words are structured in English. Next, let us see more details about morphemes. So we will discuss more about free and bound morphemes. As we mentioned, morpheme can be free or bound. Free morphemes like book functions independently. Bound morphe like ed in walk rely on other morphemes. This distinction is important for building more complex words in English. In linguistics, morphemes are the smallest units of meaning in a language. They can be classified into free morphemes and bound morphemes. Let us break it down into small pieces into more detailed explanations of each morphemes. So let us discuss about free morphemes first. So free morphemes are morphemes that can stand alone as independent words and still convey meaning. They do not need to be attached to other morphemes to function as a word. For example, like include books, round, and happy, where each word can exist independently with a clear meaning. Next, bound morphemes. So bound morphemes cannot stand alone as words. They need to attach to a free morpheme to contribute meaning. Bound morphemes include prefix, for example, like an in ando, and suffix, for example, like as in cat or ed in walk. Bound morphemes are often used to change the meaning or grammatical functions of a word, such as indicating tense, plurality, or negotiations. So basically, free morphemes are complete words by themselves, while bound morphemes modify or add meaning to free morphemes but cannot stand alone. Next, let us discuss about inflectional and derivational morphemes. So inflectional morphemes modify a word's tense, numbers, and comparisons without changing its class. For instance, as in cats only change the number, not the meaning. Derivational morphemes, on the other hand, create rarely entirely new word or change a word class, like adding this to like to form dislike, like the example I've shown you. So English words often use both, where derivational morphemes come before inflectional ones, as in disempowering or reformulations. So, based on all of the explanations I've told you, I will give you a brief summary. So in summary, English grammar, syntax, and morphology provide a structured, meaningful language system. From the grammar, which we study about the structure of the sentence, in syntax we study how the words are formed and how it affects the meaning. And in morphology, we see how the words are formed and what is the basic form of the word before it combine it together to create another meaning. And based on these explanations, we briefly can understand what is the English syntax and the English structures and meaning. And by understanding these components, we gain insight into how words, phrases, and sentences are formed and how they convey complex meaning. Thank you for watching this video. I hope this presentation has helped you better understand the linguistic structures of English. Thank you.